Hello, my name's Evan Sinisak. I'm just recording a little demo thing for Project 2 for network programming. I know it's not required, but I thought it might be helpful or useful to just quickly go over what I added to the base project for Project 1 that is for Project 2. Uh, in particular, it's mostly just the database stuff as well as the new messages between server and client and the behaviors that happen because of it. Uh, for that, the new things that we added off of Project 1 is the ability for a client to create an account and to authenticate their account. So I added those as message types and kind of and we'll go over the handling there later. Uh, I still need to write the README, but this only works in release in x64. I believe that is because of these DLLs. I believe that they only work in release mode for some reason. For whatever reason, the Connect still doesn't work in debug mode. But that's just my suspicion for why. Um, I changed the default port to 5151. That is in both the server and the client. Client is still connecting to 127.0.0.1 for the server, which I'm just now realizing / remembering that that's also the IP address of the database. Hasn't caused any issues so far. Add client and remove client, send message to client, broadcast message to room, join room, leave room. Those are all the same off of the base project. Message room is still the same. Now in parse message from client, we now have the new create account and authenticate account. So the create account takes the email and the password of the user, and then using those we go into the database and create that account using that email and password. And then here we check what the result of the create account was. If its account already exists, then we tell the client that account already exists. If there was an internal server error, let them know. If the operation succeeded, or if it went through successfully, then tell the client. And I found for one reason or another, once in a while, the database doesn't connect right away with the server program. Very rare, but I added a check. So if there is currently no connection, then it doesn't crash the entire program. And lets the client know that server is currently not connected. Please try restarting. And then for authenticate, same thing, takes an email and password and then gets the result of the authenticate account. If the account that the user put in doesn't exist, that account doesn't exist, how can I authenticate it? If there's an internal server error, let them know. If the password was valid, get the creation date of the account and tell the user. If the password was invalid, wrong password, and again, no connection. So in the main, the username and password for the database that I made and am using is root and root89. I added this was supposed to be a while, not an if, but don't have it running currently because it stopped being an issue. Otherwise, I think the rest of this is the same. Infinite send and receive loop, close it. Yeah, that's all that I've added to the server main. In client main, again, all that was really added to this was the create and authenticate account messages. So where everything else is the same, so that's going to be down here. Compare the message type. If it's create/create, then we make the type create account, and if it's auth/auth, then we make it authenticate, and then send the message. Add the data1 and data2 as well as the actual strings. Send that all over. If it's any of these types, they all have they all have a second part to the message. Just like the send message to room. In database helper, I added valid password, no connection, and account does not exist to the create account web result. I just built all of this off of the database helper that we did in class, and added the authenticate account and get account creation date. So this is where the real meat and potatoes that I've been working on came from. I am using this bcrypt blowfish file or program for the hashing. Which password hashing algorithm designed by David Maziris, and works as follows. Initiate the state, expand the key, repeat the rounds, repeat it 64 times to encrypt it, and then return concatenate salt and ctext. I didn't modify it. I added to this a little bit, but I am using this unchanged, simply just for hashing and validating. So in create account, added this if check that we're connected. If we are, check if the account that the user is trying to make already exists with the select email from WebAuth, where email is equal to the email that's being put in. Execute it, catch it, return server error if it failed. If the account already exists, then we want to break. Then the account already exists, let the user know. Otherwise, I move this up here to get the most recent user ID, or rather the largest user ID. I found the get last insert ID wasn't working properly. It kept returning 0. I think it's been depreciated. But anyways, we get the max. We get the max user ID as the largest ID from WebAuth, and then get the integer from it. Just let the server know what the last ID was. Seed the random. I looked up this generate random string. I put it into a function, but for some reason, whenever I returned the string from the function, the set string did not like that. So for some reason, just doing it hard in here worked. So that's what we do. Go through. I just did a salt of size 10, but you can change these numbers to whatever, and it'll change the salt size. Just goes through this alphanumeric array, getting random parts of it to create the salt. Add the salt to the front of the password, and then encrypt it using the bcrypt stuff. Send and store all of that information into here. This was the prepared stuff that we did for email hash password salt user. Nope, pretty sure it's email salt. Yeah, email salt hash password user ID. User ID also has to be unique, which is why I get the last inserted one, or the largest of the IDs, and add one to it, so that this last ID is never the same. Insert or fail to insert. Which this... Yeah, I don't think this... If this... Oh, 0 is failed. Okay, good to know. Gonna have to make a slight change later. But yeah, if this execute fails, it just goes to the cache right away. And now we also have to insert to the user tables. So, since we're making it right now, just insert the current time and date and update it. And then if all of this passes successfully, we can return success. And then authenticate account, same if statement. Check that we're actually connected. Create this statement, select email from WebAuth, where email is the inputted email. Execute it, check, all right, good, it exists. Get the hash password from that, where the email is that. Execute it. If it worked, get the hashed. Pull out the hash password from the result set. Put it into the string. And then we need to get the salt as well. So do the same thing. Grab the salt from the result set. And now we check if bcrypt validate password with the salt password, which is the salt that we pulled out of the database, as well as the password that the user entered. Compare it to the hash password. If it's good, print out to the server that it's good. And then we have to, I guess I move this to after. That would make more sense. So get the ID, because the ID between WebAuth and user are going to be the same. So we get that ID, and then because this is the authenticate, the user already exists, we have to update the last login to the current time wherever the ID is the current ID. And then extract the ID, execute this statement. If it is greater than 0, because it should be 1, equals 0 means it failed. That's why I wasn't getting this print. Password's good. Otherwise, password is not good. And if we failed, was this the salt check? Yep. Internal server error, and no connection. And then get account creation date. Select ID from WebAuth where email is the inputted email. Execute it, get the result, get the ID out of result set. Then run select creation date from user where ID is that ID. So we're grabbing the ID from WebAuth and using it to get the creation date by ID in user. And we pull out the string, and that's simply returning the string that gets returned from here was giving me nothing, but for some reason storing it into an SQL string and then just setting the std string equal to it works. And if it failed at all, just returns blank. That's actually something that I should quickly add. Where is authenticate? If date created is blank, SS becomes failed. Was not able to authenticate. Not able to get the account creation date. Because we authenticated but didn't or couldn't get the creation date and then send the message. That should work better. So here MySQL 80 is running. This is just how I was testing to make sure that the queries I wanted to run in C++ were actually working. But most importantly is running this. So currently in my WebAuth table, I have ID1 ASDF. This was the randomized salt. This is the hash password with the salt. which I think, yeah, this $2B, $10, $R, or up to the dollar, is the salt that the bcrypt makes. So or not, I'm not 100% sure, because the bcrypt stuff says it adds its own salt, but it's clearly not randomized, even though the salt that I added is. And as we'll see when we run this, it does work. So as per the requirements, we have ID, which is the primary key, not null, and auto increments. Email, not null and unique. Salt, not null. Hash password, not null. User ID, not null and unique. And the table with ID, begin, primary key, not null, auto increments, and the last login and creation date. I don't think I had to have anything. Yeah, they were just timestamp and date time. I could probably make these not null, but they'll never not be null because of how I'm running it anyways. Sure, why not? Let's make them not null. Let's see if this breaks everything. So, as I just showed, I have two different users in the WebAuth, and these are the times that they were created and the times that they were last logged into. So now, if I run the program, this will open two command prompts. And if I position these, so if I position these so that we can see both, so join room, I could, where is this one? Not this one, this one. Let's open a second client, have it also join the room, hello. This is all just stuff from first project base, but we can join, we can leave, we can send, and we can quit. But new to this, if I run create, I guess let's just go over all of them. So one of the accounts that I created was ASDF. That account already exists. Let's create, I don't know. I already have my email in it, so let's just do cool email. And a good password. Success account added. Now if I were to authenticate, or I guess before I do that, let's actually look. So I'll run this query, grab all of them. New randomized salt added to the password, and in user number 3 created at 5:20 December 9th 2021, and same creation date because its last timestamp is the same time as the creation as the account was created. So now let's authenticate that account. Cool. what did I call it? Cool email. Yeah, cool email. I don't remember the password. Was it a password? Nope. How about... Did I do something like this? Nuh-uh, that's wrong. Well, maybe I'm... It's telling me that's the wrong password, but maybe I'm putting in the email wrong. Maybe it was maybe I spelled cool the proper way. I genuinely forgot what the password was. But that account doesn't exist. So let's authenticate a password that I do know. ASDF. Success, that's the correct password. The account was created on December 9th at 4:45. And if I check the user table now, ASDF is the first one, and the last login is now at 5:22:46. It's been a little bit of time since then. So creates a new account. The bcrypt uses SHA-256 as the hashing algorithm. I am adding a randomized salt. Account is added. Respond with failure. Authenticate. Hash the plain text. Let's compare this hash to the database. Respond with failure or respond with success, and updates the last login. Authentication client, chat client. I just realized what those are actually for, and is not how I did it. Same program running as your chat server. Separate server that should be able to be reused by another program. Well, that's the database helper stuff. Because anything can run that. Authentication client, same as chat server. Which it does all this. Yeah, and then the chat client sends a register or create. Tells why it succeeds or fails. Authenticate. Authentication successful. Account created on. And if it fails, tells the user the reason why that failed. Yeah. So yeah, the authentication service is the database helper stuff. And so since I don't remember anyways, how about I go ahead and delete that new user. So if I were to just remove both of these and then add a new account, the unique ID will go to 4 because it knows that the last one it did was 3. So even though there's a 1 and 2 already, if I run this alter table auto increment equal to 1, it's going to reset both. And if I run the program again and quickly add a new account again, /create remember this password. And I go back. So even though I just reset the auto increment to 1, it put it to 3 because it auto increments. And just to show it again real quick, if I wanted to authenticate, remember this password. Success, good password. And if I check the user, the last login is updated. It was 29 seconds after the creation date. I think that's everything. I'm gonna write the README, clean up the folders, and zip it all up and send it. Thank you for watching.